Hello everyone, Hira here. Now we are going to listen to podcast news which includes important national, international and business, economy, news. While walking in the morning or evening, while cooking, cycling or during free time you can listen. It will enhance your learning and understanding of various accents and pronunciations. Listening improves the quality of communication and comprehension. Before going ahead, I would like to welcome you all to the virtual school. A new way of learning and teaching, with the vision of Let's Grow Together. Our mission is to learn how to learn and teach how to teach. So stay tuned. And here we go. August 4th, 2021. National important news. Not asked to move to Delhi, Yogi Chief Minister puts to rest speculation over leadership change in Uttar Pradesh. Omar Rashid. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has put to rest speculation that he was asked to shift to Delhi, and thereby settled the question of leadership, for now, in the state BJP and the government as he heads into the 2022 Assembly election. Amid questions over his future after the image of the state government received a blow during the questionable handling of the COVID-19 second wave and the difference of opinion over the CM face from some of his own colleagues, Mr. Adityanath met Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Delhi in July. Since then, the top BJP leadership, including Mr. Modi, has publicly praised the Chief Minister and his work ethic. In an interview to The Hindu, Mr. Adityanath said he was not offered a role in Delhi during his visit there. We met over issues related to the state. I met him, Modi, earlier too and frequently seek his advice on governance issues, he said. Mr. Adityanath also dismissed the electoral challenges posed to his party's social arithmetic by the ongoing farmer agitation in western Uttar Pradesh along with the alliance of the Samajwadi Party and the Rashtriya Lok Dal. He listed out the schemes implemented by the BJP government for farmers in the past 7 years and labeled the farmers' protest as politically motivated. If this Kisan Andolan was connected to the interests of farmers, then possibly they could have had the support. This is politically motivated. And any such politically motivated campaign will not receive support of people and Annadata Kisan, he said. He also dismissed the credentials of the opposition, in particular the BSP, in wooing the dominant Brahmin community. The BSP and the SP have constantly accused the BJP government, headed by Mr. Adityanath, a born Thakur, of targeting the Brahmins. Since when is the BSP a champion of Brahmin Samaj, community? Their old slogans reflect their attitudes, Mr. Adityanath said. Neither SP or BSP has the right to speak about social cohesion as they have advocated conflict between communities, he said, adding that the two parties were trying to hunt for their lost social base, which has come to the BJP. Let's unite voice of people, Rahul tells APN. Leaders he rides a cycle to parliament to protest against fuel price rise. Taking a stand, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi cycling to parliament on Tuesday. Sandeep Saxena. Special Correspondent, New Delhi. Former Congress President Rahul Gandhi on Tuesday gave a call to opposition leaders to unite the majority voice of the people of India that is represented by their parties. Accompanied by his party colleagues and opposition leaders, Mr. Gandhi rode a bicycle to Parliament to protest against the rise in the prices of petrol, diesel, and cooking gas. Earlier, he hosted a breakfast meet for the leaders of 15 opposition parties at the Constitution Club, close to Parliament. We the opposition parties represent 60% of the people, the majority of the people. When the government shuts us up, they are not humiliating us as members of Parliament but the majority voice of the people of India. The single most important thing in my view is, let's unite this voice, he told the opposition MPs. The more this voice unites, the more powerful it will become. More difficult it will become for the BJP and RSS to suppress this voice, he asserted. The principles for the foundation of such unity should be worked out now, Mr. Gandhi added. At least 3 times excess deaths in Maharashtra. Srinivasan Ramani, Chennai. The number of excess deaths registered by the Civil Registration System, CRS, in Maharashtra ever since the COVID-19 pandemic hit, from April 2020 to May 2021, was an estimated 2,12,589, which is 2.8 times the official reported figure of 75,877 COVID-19 deaths for the same period. The figures were arrived at from data on deaths registered month-wise in the online CRS from January 2018 to May 2021 in Maharashtra and accessed by The Hindu. As with the other states, not all excess deaths could be related to COVID-19, but a bulk of them will be, during the pandemic period. The online death registrations data showed a total of 6,67,906,93,800 deaths in 2018 and 2019 respectively. Over 99% students pass CBSE Class 10 exam. On Cloud 9, students celebrating after the announcement of the CBSE Class 10 results in New Delhi. Shiv Kumar Pushpakar. Special Correspondent, New Delhi. More than 99% of the Central Board of Secondary Education, CBSE, students have passed Class 10, according to the results released on Tuesday. Last year, 91.46% passed the exam. In fact, 6 states Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Nagaland, Mizoram, Meghalaya, and Goa and the Union Territories of Puducherry and Lakshadweep recorded a 100% pass this year. All Kendriya Vidyalayas across the country also registered 100% pass. The exam, originally scheduled to be held in May and June, was cancelled due to the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. The marks were calculated on the basis of internal assessments, including unit tests, midterms and pre-board exams, and are not really comparable with the results of previous years. Hence, no toppers have been declared now, as the board decided not to issue any merit list or merit certificates. No Tipu Sultan statue in A.P.S. Produtter. No more statues, say authorities. Special Correspondent Kadapa. With the Kadapa District Administration deciding not to allow the installation of any more statues, the furor over the move to build a statue of Tipu Sultan in Produtter is expected to die down. It all started with the Produtter YSRCP MLA Rachamalu Sivaprasad Reddy volunteering to install a statue of Tipu Sultan on a main road junction and even performing Bhumi Puja for the same, allegedly without getting a nod from the district statues committee. The Bharatiya Janata Party leadership, led by Soma Veeraraju and S. Vishnuvardhan Reddy, visited Kadapa and submitted representations to officials against the move, describing it as unconstitutional and an attempt to appease the minorities. Welcoming the government's decision, the BJP on Tuesday demanded Mr. Reddy's arrest for going against the constitution. Meanwhile, minority Hakula Pararakshana Samithai State President Farooq Shibli has accused the YSRCP government of playing with public sentiments. Muslims never asked for a Tipu Sultan statue. It was the MLA who insisted on installing a statue, but the U-turn is indicative of tacit support to the BJP's divide and rule politics, he said. Mr. Shibli took exception to the way the government had taken refuge in the Supreme Court's directive to avoid installing the statue. There are several statues in Produtter town, including 5 of former Chief Minister Y.S. Rajsekhara Reddy alone. How are they not in violation of the SC's guidelines, he asked. Thank you. International news. Raisi inaugurated as president of Iran. He says he will seek to lift oppressive sanctions, but won't tie Iran's well-being to the will of foreigners. New role, Ebrahim Raisi, right, getting the endorsement decree for his presidency from Ayatollah Ali Khomeini in Tehran. AP. Agence France Presse Tehran. Ebrahim Raisi was on Tuesday inaugurated as president of Iran, a country whose hopes of shaking off a dire economic crisis hinge on reviving a nuclear deal with world powers. Following the people's choice, I task the wise, indefatigable, experienced, and popular Hojjatul Islam Ebrahim Raisi as President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khomeini wrote in a decree read out by his chief of staff. Mr. Raisi, a conservative, replaces moderate President Hassan Rouhani, whose landmark achievement was the 2015 nuclear agreement between Iran and 6 major powers. From the outset, Mr. Raisi will have to tackle negotiations aimed at reviving the nuclear deal from which the US unilaterally withdrew, imposing sweeping sanctions. The 60-year-old also faces the United States, Britain, and Israel's warnings to Iran over a deadly tanker attack last week for which Tehran denies responsibility. Mr. Raisi, in his inauguration speech, said the new government would seek to lift oppressive US sanctions, but would not tie the nation's standard of living to the will of foreigners. We believe the people's economic position is unfavorable both because of the hostility of our enemies and because of the shortcomings and problems inside the country, he said. In his response, Mr. Khomeini acknowledged Iran suffered from many shortcomings and problems, but quickly added, the country's capabilities are even more numerous. Fixing economic problems takes time and cannot be done overnight. Rights record. Mr. Raisi won a presidential election in June in which more than half the electorate stayed away after many heavyweights were barred from standing. A former judiciary chief, he has been criticized by the West for his human rights record. Tuesday's ceremony marked Mr. Raisi's formal accession to office. He will next be sworn in before Parliament on Thursday when he is to submit his proposed government lineup. Mr. Raisi's presidency will consolidate power in the hands of Conservatives following their 2020 parliamentary election victory, marked by the disqualification of thousands of reformist or moderate candidates. The 2015 nuclear deal saw Iran accept curbs on its nuclear capabilities in return for an easing of sanctions. But then U.S. President Donald Trump withdrew from the accord 3 years later and ramped up sanctions again, prompting Tehran to pull back from most of its nuclear commitments. Mr. Trump's successor Joe Biden has signaled his readiness to return to the deal and engaged in indirect negotiations with Iran alongside formal talks with the accord's remaining parties Britain, China, France, Germany, and Russia. The U.S. sanctions have choked Iran and its vital oil exports. New York governor sexually harassed multiple women, AG Cuomo's office a toxic workplace that enabled harassment. Andrew Cuomo. Reuters New York. A 5-month investigation has found that New York Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women in violation of federal and state law, creating a climate of fear within his office, State Attorney General Letitia James said on Tuesday. The independent inquiry showed that Mr. Cuomo engaged in unwanted groping, kissing, and hugging, and made inappropriate comments, Ms. James told a press briefing, adding that the Democratic governor's office had become a toxic workplace that enabled harassment to occur. The findings, detailed in a scathing 168-page report, could deal a devastating blow to Mr. Cuomo's political future and hinder his administration, although the probe was civil in nature and will not directly lead to criminal charges against him. Specifically, the investigation found that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed current and former New York State employees by engaging in unwelcome and non-consensual touching and making numerous offensive comments, said Ms. James, a Democrat. There was no immediate comment from the governor's office. Mr. Cuomo, 63, has denied wrongdoing. There was also no immediate comment from Carl Heastie, the Speaker of the Democratic-controlled New York Assembly, who had authorized an impeachment investigation into Mr. Cuomo. Mr. Heastie has previously said that lawmakers would incorporate Ms. James' findings into their impeachment probe. Investigators spoke to 179 people, including complainants and current and former members of the executive chamber, Ms. James said. She said the probe resulted in a deeply disturbing yet clear picture of what she called a climate of fear, in which Mr. Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women, many of them young. Ms. James launched her investigation into the allegations after receiving a formal request from Mr. Cuomo's office on March 1 to do so as the number of publicly reported allegations mounted. The report shows that investigators did not find Mr. Cuomo's explanations about his encounters to be credible. It said Mr. Cuomo's blanket denials and lack of recollection as to specific incidents stood in stark contrast to the strength, specificity, and corroboration of the complainant's recollections. Army urges Afghans to evacuate city as fighting rages in Lashkar-Gah, UN says at least 40 civilians killed in 24 hours. Battle continues, Afghan security personnel patrolling a deserted street in Lashkar-Gah on Tuesday. AP Abdul Khalik. Agents France Presse Kandahar. Residents were urged on Tuesday to evacuate a besieged Afghan city as the army prepared a major offensive against Taliban insurgents after 3 days of heavy fighting. The Taliban have seized control of much of rural Afghanistan since foreign forces began the last stage of their withdrawal in May, but are now focused on capturing provincial capitals, where they are meeting stiffer resistance. Fighting is raging for Lashkar-Gah, the capital of southern Helmand province, with the United Nations saying at least 40 civilians were killed in the last 24 hours. General Sami Sadat, commander of the 215 Maiwand Afghan Army Corps, told residents to get out as soon as they could. "Please leave as soon as possible so that we can start our operation," he said in a message to the city of 2,000,000 delivered via the media. "Fighting was intense this morning," said C. Fadullah, director of Sukhan Radio. He said US and Afghan Air Force planes had pounded Taliban positions, and that fighting was ongoing near the city's prison and a building housing the headquarters of police and intelligence agencies. In recent days, the US military has intensified airstrikes in a bid to stem Taliban advances. "The Taliban are everywhere in the city, you can see them on motorcycles in the streets. They are arresting or shooting people who have smartphones," a resident of Lashkar Gah said. "The Taliban are in people's houses and the government is bombing them. About 20 houses in my neighborhood have been bombed, they are fighting street-to-street battles," he said. Minister targeted in Kabul attack. Associated Press Kabul. A powerful explosion rocked an upscale Kabul neighborhood on Tuesday in an attack that apparently targeted the country's acting defense minister. At least 10 people were wounded, a health official said. Several smaller explosions, as well as small arms fire, could be heard. Interior Ministry spokesman Mirwais Staniksai said the blast happened in the posh Sherpur neighborhood in the Green Zone. Mr. Staniksai said it appeared the guest house of acting Defense Minister Bismillah Khan Mohammadi was targeted in the attack. Officer dead, suspect killed in violence outside Pentagon. Associated Press Washington. An officer died after being stabbed on Tuesday during a burst of violence at a transit station outside the Pentagon, and a suspect was shot by law enforcement officers and died at the scene, officials said. The Pentagon, the headquarters of the U.S. military, was temporarily placed on lockdown after gunshots were fired on Tuesday morning near the entrance of the building. A Pentagon police officer who was stabbed later died, according to officials, who spoke on condition of anonymity. More details about the violence were expected at a Pentagon news conference. The connection between the shooting and the stabbing of the officer was not immediately clear. The incident occurred on a metro bus platform that is part of the Pentagon Transit Center and just steps away from the military headquarters, according to the Pentagon Protection Force Protection Agency. Multiple gunshots. An Associated Press reporter near the building heard multiple gunshots, then a pause, then at least one additional shot. Another AP journalist heard police yelling "shooter." A Pentagon announcement said the facility was on lockdown due to police activity. Israeli SC offers compromise to avoid Palestinian evictions. Families reject proposal granting them protected status. In limbo, Palestinian residents of Sheikh Jarrah during the court hearing on Monday. Reuters Ronan Zevulun. Associated Press Jerusalem. Israel's Supreme Court has floated compromises that would block the evictions of dozens of Palestinians in the East Jerusalem town of Sheikh Jarrah, where attempts by Jewish settlers to expel them from their homes sparked an 11-day war between Israel and Gaza militants in May. The cases examined on Monday involve 4 Palestinian families, numbering a total of about 70 people. The settlers have been waging a decades-long campaign to evict the families from densely populated Palestinian neighborhoods just outside the walls of the Old City, in one of the most sensitive parts of East Jerusalem. The settlers say the homes are built on land that was owned by Jews prior to the 1948 war surrounding Israel's creation. Israeli law allows Jews to reclaim such property, a right denied to Palestinians who lost lands and homes in the same conflict. The Palestinians say they have owned the properties for decades. During Monday's hearing, the Supreme Court proposed a pair of compromises, according to IRAMIM, a human rights group that supports the Palestinians and which sat in on the hearing. It said the first proposal offered the residents protected status, meaning they would be protected from eviction for years in exchange for recognizing the settlers' ownership over the land. This offer would allow the 4 families the right to pass down their properties for 2 generations. But after the 4 families rejected the proposition, the court proposed an alternative settlement where the 4 families would receive protected status while instead acknowledging that Israel once registered the properties with previous Jewish owners, according to IRAMIM. It said the settlers rejected that proposal, while the families asked for more time to consider it. Indian student's death is homicide, suspect held. China. Bihar's Aman Nagsen was studying in Tianjin. Press Trust of India, Beijing. The death of a 20-year-old Indian student in China's Tianjin city was a homicide and a foreigner has been arrested in connection with the murder, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said here on Tuesday. The suspect's nationality has not been disclosed, officials said. Aman Nagsen, who hailed from Bihar's Gaya, was a student of business administration at the Tianjin Foreign Studies University. He was found dead on July 29. The Chinese Foreign Ministry, in a written response to PTI, said that around 8 p.m., Tianjin police received a call that an Indian student was lying on the floor of the dormitory with no sign of life. The initial investigation of the public security organ found it to be a case of homicide and the suspect is another foreign student of the university. Compulsory measures have been taken on the suspect and the case is still under further investigation. Relevant Chinese competent authorities have notified the Indian embassy in Beijing of the situation of the case on July 30 and 31 respectively and maintained communication with the embassy, it said. The Chinese side will handle the case in accordance with law and offer assistance in follow-up matters, it said, adding that an autopsy was conducted on Tuesday. The issuance of the death certificate is expected to take a few days as it is a case of homicide, the officials said. Nagsen was one of the few Indian students who remained in China through the coronavirus pandemic while most of the 23,000-odd Indian students, who left for home, were stuck in India, unable to return due to Beijing's reluctance to lift visa restrictions. Thank you. Economy News. Insolvency Code has strayed from intent, Parliament Panel Committee seeks IBC review, flags low recovery rates, delays, vacancies in NCLTs. Guiding principle. The panel suggests a benchmark for the quantum of haircuts to be taken by creditors. R.V. Murthy. Special Correspondent, New Delhi. The Parliament's Standing Committee on Finance has sought a review of the design and implementation of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, IBC, as it has deviated from the original intent and questioned the low recovery rates, long delays in the resolution process and the high number of vacancies in the National Company Law Tribunals, NCLTs. The panel, chaired by the BJP's Jayant Sinha, stressed that the low recovery rates under the IBC with haircuts as much as 95% and the delay in resolution process with more than 71% cases pending with NCLT for more than 180 days, clearly point towards a deviation from the original objectives of the code. In a report tabled on Tuesday on the implementation of IBC pitfalls and solutions, the committee noted that the code had undergone 6 amendments since its introduction in 2016, but the operationalization of these changes may have altered or even digressed from the basic design of the statute. Calling for a thorough evaluation of the extent of fulfillment of the code's original aims, the panel said the fundamental aim of the statute was to secure creditor rights so as to reduce borrowing costs with the reduction of risks. It also suggested a benchmark be put in place for the quantum of haircuts to be taken by creditors. It expressed apprehensions over fresh graduates appointed as resolution professionals, RPs. Disciplinary action had been taken in the case of 123 RPs out of 203 inspections conducted so far, it pointed out. It said it was concerned over the NCLT functioning without a president, and 34 members short of its sanctioned strength of 62. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this video as a podcast. Do like, share and comment. Press the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to get new notifications. Thank you. Take care and stay safe. God bless you all. Jai Ma Bharati. To download news and editorials in MP3, follow us on Telegram, Virtual School Official. The link is provided in the description below.